Welcome back on Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Remember, head over to youtube.com, put Locked On Sports Atlanta into your search browser. When you get there, hit our subscribe button. Be a part of our ever-growing community. We're pushing toward 3,000 people, so we thank you greatly for being a part of that growing community. We are free and available on all of your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. Leave us a 5-star review if you would, please. Leave us a comment as well. And then, of course, give me a follow on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. I don't want to say I told you so, but maybe there's a little bit of I told you so. Do you remember we talked a while back here? I've talked about on my radio show the fact that I always question the idea of Marcell Ozuna and the signing of him. And look, when the Braves signed him after that 2020 season, right? You were almost kind of backed in the corner. The whole fan base like, we got to get this guy and this and the other. And, he had a monster year in the 60-game pandemic. But there were red flags. Obviously, this is before we knew about the domestic dispute stuff and all that kind of stuff. But from a baseball perspective, I had said, well, look at his time in St. Louis. He was kind of a one-trick pony. He didn't do a whole lot. He hit a bunch of homers, didn't hit for much average, struck out a bunch, didn't drive in or score a lot of runs. He's not a great defensive player anymore. I know he did win a Gold Glove early in his career, but, really since his, kind of final season of Miami where he put up the monster numbers as he was getting out of there, the pandemic season, he also talked about, he took the time off during the pandemic to get himself in shape. And I said, well, what's that going to look like when he's just got a normal offseason? He doesn't have an extra couple of months to get back into it. Well, now we're seeing that Marcell Ozuna is a lot like that player we saw for the St. Louis Cardinals. He really is a one-trick pony. Now, let me give you his numbers. This is Marcell Ozuna for the entire month of July and through yesterday's series against the Mets in August. So all of July and through August 7th. He is hitting in that time over a 29-game stretch, 188 with a 229 on-base percentage and a 357 slugging. That comes out to a 586 OPS with 5 homers, 10 RBI in 29 games, only 12 runs scored, 4 doubles. He has 28 strikeouts to 6 walks. In fact, he has almost as many strikeouts as he does hits plus RBI together. Now, look, it is what it is with Marcell Ozuna at this point. You're stuck with Marcell Ozuna. Is he a really high-paid guy? No, he's in the $18 million range, but he's not going to be an easy guy to move his contract off come next year. You're going to have to be willing to not take very much for Marcell Ozuna in the offseason if you're going to move on from him, right? Because he still has another, I think 2 years left on his deal that he signed. But right now, he is, because he can't field and he doesn't steal bases and he doesn't get on base, he is the ultimate one-trick pony. He is what Mark McGwire was for a lot of his career. He can hit home runs. He can drive the ball out of the ballpark, and that's not a bad thing. But Marcell Ozuna isn't giving you a whole lot right now. And the thing that made him so fun during the pandemic, right? Remember, he hit like 330 the year of the pandemic in a 60-game set, right? And he's hitting the ball the other way, hitting a double the other way, a single the other way, and all this kind of stuff, and brought all the energy, right? It was great. But you can't steal first base, right? You can't just arbitrarily take first base. And a lot of the things that he was doing in the pandemic year aren't there now. You don't see him going the other way and this, that, and the other. You basically wait for him to just find a mistake pitch and pull it and hit it out of the ballpark. And he can still do that. And that was his profile with the Cardinals. In those couple of years with the Cardinals, it was, he doesn't hit for much average. Yeah, he strikes out a lot, but he can hit the ball out of the ballpark. Yeah, he's not going to drive in a whole lot of runs. He can hit 30 homers and drive in 88 runs. Well, that's not a very good ratio. You're a 30-homer guy in Major League Baseball. You're getting plenty of opportunity. And by the way, it's not like he's with some ham and egg lineup, right? This isn't the Cardinals lineup where it's Arenado and Goldschmidt and a whole bunch of ham and eggers after that. He's got one of the deepest lineups in all of Major League Baseball. You've got Ronnie and Dansby and Olsen and Riley and all these guys, Darno and Contreras, all these guys around you that get on base. You have tons of opportunity to drive in all kinds of runs. But right now he's sitting at 19 homers and 42 RBI on the season. Come on. And look, he's not even a good defensive outfielder at this point, right? I understand he won a Gold Glove earlier in his career, this, that, and the other. But you want him trotting around every day out in left field? No. And let's be honest, when you put him at DH, right? When he's DHing, that means Contreras or somebody else probably sits, right? Somebody is probably sitting that's maybe more valuable to the lineup, that could be used in there. If Darno is catching and Ozuna's at DH, that means Contreras is going to sit for the night. Well, who would you rather have right now? You want Contreras' bat or Ozuna's bat? And I get the idea of not burning Contreras out. I'm not saying that. But, and obviously you'd love to be able to every so often DH Ronnie, given all the, little tweaks and injuries and little, hiccups and things like that he's had. Give him a day off from the field. Again, the other night in that 8-0 game that Ian Anderson couldn't even win with an 8-0 lead, if not for the defense of Ronnie out in right field and Michael Harris out in center field, who knows what that game would have looked like. But Ozuna is becoming a problem now for this team, and things are not getting better with him. We'll talk more about this in just a second, but first, let me talk about my folks over at Coffee AM. You know how much I love these folks. Look, true story. My Keurig crapped out over the weekend. So I've been trying to figure out how to get some coffee. I don't have a backup coffee maker. So I had to go to Walmart yesterday, get me another little coffee pot. And because of all the coffee that coffeeam.com has provided me, and I love this care package that they sent me, I was able to grab me a coffee maker, load that bad boy up, and I'm still on the coffeeam.com track. So I love these folks. They're here in the state of Georgia, up in the Canton area. They're your best small batch coffee roaster in America. You like flavored coffees, you want organic coffees, fair trade, whatever your style or flavor is, coffeeam.com is the place to go. And let me tell you what we've got going on for you here. You head to coffeeam.com/locked on. Go there today. Go through their extensive menu. They have coffees, they have teas, and they have different gift sets. You want a coffee mug, whatever. They have some knickknacks and things like that for you there as well. Go through their extensive menu of products. When you put together that first order at coffeeam.com, put together the order of whatever it is that you got going on, put at the checkout, put the coupon code locked on, LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, put locked on as the coupon code at checkout, and you get 15% off that first order. Whatever it is you buy, coffees, teas, gift sets, doesn't matter. That first order over at coffeeam.com, we're going to give you 15% off simply by using the code locked on at checkout. Go there today. I love these folks. I drink their coffee every single morning. I'm a coffee junkie, coffeeaholic, or whatever like that. Love these folks. Coffee AM, coffeeam.com, right here in the state of Georgia. But look, at this point, would it do? Look, you're stuck with Marcell Ozuna, right? Would it do some good to maybe sit him a day or this, that, and the other? I don't know. I don't know how, if he's one of those guys that responds to sitting for a day or taking a day off, or whatever like that. But I can tell you this: a guy who's hitting a $188 over a month plus, over about a 6-week stretch, isn't helping your ball club up. And right now, the Braves can't afford to just keep trotting the same guys out and hope for a different result. And I understand. Listen, we've talked about this before with Brian Snitker. The thing that makes him such a great manager is his loyalty to his players. Right? Guys will run through walls for him. But in the past, that has also been his downfall, or his negative, is that he gets too loyal to certain guys. The Dallas Keuchels of the world, that you go with those guys and you roll the dice with those guys. That's why I've talked about with the playoffs. Right now, Strider's your number 3 pitcher, but most likely he would go with Charlie Morton as your number 3. Wright, Fried, 1-2, right? Strider ought to be your 3rd guy. But he most likely will go with Charlie Morton out of loyalty, veteran loyalty, things like that. And I understand that. I'm not mad at that, but it's those kinds of things. So the Braves are going to have to figure out something with Marcell Ozuna. You're going to have to get him figured out. If all he can be is a one-trick pony, that's not going to help this team. That's not going to, because let me tell you what's not going to happen. I understand last year they mashed their way through the playoffs. That's awfully tough to do. It's tough to repeat that. You saw they couldn't mash their way through DeGrom and Scherzer this weekend, could they? You can't mash your way through all of those guys. Ozuna's becoming a problem. You better figure out something to do with him because you are stuck with him at this point. All right, when we come back, don't be surprised if Avery Williams isn't in the mix at running back and getting some plays out of all of it. We'll talk about that next. It is Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery, Locked on Sports Atlanta.